Hey guys, Taiji here, formerly known as Young Fappy. A quick little beside on that one. Um, I was just at LCS finals, and basically Riot was like, yeah, Fappy is a bit too silly of a word. It's not very brand friendly, so you should rebrand. So I'm rebranding to Taiji, which is what my IRL friends call me. So, if you guys want to you can just, like, keep calling me Fappy. That's chill. If you want to call me Taiji, that's also cool too. Anyways, I'm going to do a 13.16 tier list video right now because my second monitor, well, my first monitor actually, my primary monitor, one of my cats pushed it over and it broke. So I only have one monitor right now, so I can't stream. So I thought I'd make a longer-ish video on the Teemo matchups. And when I think about them, just going over the tiers really fast, we have Dodge. If you care about your LP, or if you want to have fun, you should probably dodge these matchups. Hard is just like difficult matchups. I think Teemo can win, but Teemo should probably lose if both players play well. Skill matchup, like pretty even. Could go either way. Easy, just Teemo should win. Free win is like you should not be losing these lanes. If you're losing the free win lanes, something is just... There's like a fundamental like misunderstanding of the matchup or something like that. And they won't play against is for, like Yumi tops. Like you're not gonna play against Yumi tops, so I'm not gonna like place them into like free win or whatever. So I guess we'll just start with Aatrox. I think Aatrox is kind of at the top of the meta right now. I think he's a really good ban if you're a Teemo main. I think the matchup is winnable, so I'm gonna put it into hard and not dodge. But the champion is really good, and he's really common right now. So that's why I think he's a good ban. If you want to play into Aatrox, I think Swifties are really good. I've seen people take Fleet Footwork, go with Swifties and Fleet Footwork. If the Aatrox is going like the Duskblade build, which is like popular right now, but I think that's getting nerfed, and they have another AD jungler, you can maybe opt for like Seekers or something like that. I wouldn't go for Oblivion Orb. I don't think it's worth it. But from my experience, I think just going Swifties is usually good enough to get through the lane. Let's go on to Ahri. I actually have played against Ahri top quite a few times. For some reason, Summit, Team Liquid's top laner, really likes to put Ahri into Teemo. So I'm actually like pretty versed in the matchup, I think. I'm going to put it into skill matchup. I think Ahri is one of those mages that as long as you dodge Charm against Ahri, you can kind of just like smork him. And there's not much you can do because you out DPS him so hard. And he doesn't like shit on you early or shit on you at 6 because his like damage isn't high enough. So I think Ahri is pretty fine. Fleet, press the attack, I think are both pretty chill in that matchup. Akali, I'm going to put into hard. I'm not going to do left to right, by the way. I'm just going to like put them on. Akali is a difficult matchup because you have to beat Akali early to have a chance against her later. Akali's level 6 all in, especially if she goes like TP Ignite or just Flash Ignite or something like that, is crazy strong against Teemo. Basically, if she ults you and lands her E, you're going to die. So you have to itemize for that. If you don't win hard early, like I'm talking about like win hard, like you need to at least like solo killer. If you just go up CS, I think you're forced to itemize maybe like Ruby Crystal and Null Magic Mantle, or just like you need to itemize defensively for her or you're going to die when she owns you. So I'm going to put her in hard for that reason. It's like a lot of pressure on you to win early. You're not playing against Alistars, I hope. You're not playing against Amumu's. Anivia, I think, is a difficult matchup. I don't think you necessarily need to dodge it. But once Anivia hits 6, if the Anivia knows what they're doing, they're just going to sit there and last hit with their auto attacks and not use any abilities until you walk up, and then they're going to always try to put ult on you and then put the wallet behind you, and when the ulti's slow, they try to Q you to get you stunned into the ulti and then EU, and it's kind of just like an interaction that you can't really play into. But if Anivia doesn't know what she's doing, and she just ults every wave, shoving it into you, then it's fine, right? Because she's just ulting the waves, and then you're like collecting the farm in the tower, and you're just going like CS for CS. So if Anivia plays it right, I think it's really, really difficult for you to play. Post level 6, I'd recommend going Swifties, I think, to help get out of the ulti because it slows. I don't think I'd go Mercs. And that's basically it with Anivia, I think. Annie, if you do really care, I think Annie's a dodge matchup. You know, she's a point and click stun, a shield that where if you auto attack her, like the damage goes back onto you. Her burst is really good at 6. She can just sit there and hold stun and like pressure you off. Like you don't outrange her, you don't outdamage her. Her like team fight is arguably better than yours. If you care about your LP and you know you're playing this anti-top, I would just dodge for sure. Aphelios, Ashe, Aurelion Soul. I'll just put it into easy. I've played against some Aurelion Soul tops. It's like not really a thing, but Teemo's early game is just so much better than his that you can kind of just like run at him and auto attack him over and over again. He outscales you for sure, but like you shouldn't get there in the lane phase. The lane is too long top lane for Aurelion Soul to lane safely. Azir, if you play against an Azir who knows what they're doing, you're probably going to get dicked. The champion's range is just too crazy long. His poke is too good. He scales like crazy. Even if you do manage to close the distance on him, he could E away or he could ult you. He has really good gank setup for you. If you don't have flash up, you're basically going to die to his ultis every single time if you get ganked. If you know you're playing against an Azir top, you should probably dodge this one too. Even if you can cheese him early, it's kind of the same way with some of these mages that you can cheese early. That even if you get ahead, it doesn't really matter because of the way the interactions are. So that's why I'm going to put Azir into dodge here also. Bard, Crank, Brand, Braum, Caitlyn, all won't play against. Camille is pretty easy matchup. The only thing with Camille that I think brings some difficulty into it is, I guess there's like two things. So long ago, Camille's opted for a dark Camille tech, which was W max and Comet with Scorch. So some Camille's will still do that, or if they play against Teemo, they'll maybe not max out W all the way, but they'll put a few points into W, and they'll take Comet and they'll take Scorch, and their game plan is to poke you out with Comets and try to get a lead that way, so when they start building into their real items, maybe they'll go for like Hexdrinker Divine Sunder, or like Hexdrinker Triforce, or just like Merc Triforce, something like that, that they have enough of a lead from poking you out with Ws over and over again, that they can actually fight you. And then the other difficult thing about the matchup is Camille has really strong gank setup, with the point and click ulti that kind of locks you down. But despite those two things, Teemo is so favored in the matchup because of blind. You can blind Camille's Qs and you can blind Camille from getting her passive procs. So if she E's onto the wall and then tries to E onto you, if you're fast with your Q, you can get it off, buffered on her E. So even though she E's you, she's blinded when she comes out of it, and her auto attacks don't connect, so she doesn't get that shield, right? So I think because of that interaction, Teemo is pretty fair against Camille. Plus in the 1v1, blind can really just hose her. Same thing with team fights too. You know, Camille jumps in your carry, you blind her, like her damage is gone. So I think Teemo's pretty good against Camille. Cassiopeia, this is Teemo's worst matchup in the entire game. If you see Cassiopeia, you should dodge. You know, I'd say level like 2 onward, basically. If she lands her Qs, you lose. And you're never going to win since then. It doesn't get better at 6. It doesn't get better with items. She's going to get tanky as fuck from her build. She can go Everfrost. She can go Rod of Ages. She can get Archangels, which gives her a fat shield. She can get like a Stone Plate later on. She buys Rylai's, which has a bunch of HP and slow, so you can't run away from her or catch up to her. The matchup is just so fucked. It's basically unwinnable. I've played against Cassiopeias where I'll be like 4-0. Like I'll like cheese her, get a gank or whatever. And it still feels unplayable. So if you like to have fun or you value your LP, dodge the Camille match or the Cassiopeia matchup for sure. Let's move on to Cho'Gath. I think Cho'Gath is a pretty easy lane. I don't think he's free win because his Q cooldown is relatively short and he can kind of spam it to CS. But Teemo wants to itemize boots to go along with his W, and he's fast enough as is, so you should be able to dodge basically every single Cho'Gath Q. And once you dodge Cho'Gath Qs, he has no mobility, and you can run up to him and start autoing him, and then you can space him out. If he runs away, you can catch up. If he starts running at you, you just kite him out, right? He should never be able to auto attack you unless he lands Q, but you should be able to dodge every single one of his Qs. Just go like Boots 2 early in this matchup. Once he gets Everfrost, it's like not as fun because he can Everfrost you and then land his Qs if you try to play aggro into him, because it's like impossible to dodge the Everfrost, right? But then even then, you just like don't walk into Everfrost range and then you're good to go. Corki, no. I'm gonna, Darius is like a The first one that came across as a champion that I should like probably specify that this tier list is for high elo. Like the way that I'm structuring this tier list in my mind is that if you're playing the matchup correctly and your opponent's playing the matchup correctly, like who should win type thing. And because of that, I'm going to put Darius into easy. I was thinking about putting him into skill matchup or maybe even hard, but I'm going to put him into easy. And the reason why I'm going to put him into easy is because you can just space him out. As long as you don't get grabbed, there's not much you can do. If you're like far up in the lane and he ghosts at you or like flash grabs you and then ghosts at you, you're going to die. But if you know what you're doing, you should never be in that situation in the first place. Plus, if your wave management is good, you can look to freeze a wave, and the way that he fixes the wave is he has to Q it, right? That's his AoE ability. But if you space the Q and he Qs the wave, and you like put a shroom in the wave or something, you can just space him out and kill him. So I think Teemo should win this matchup. Let's move on. Diana top is not really a thing. Draven top. Mundo is just not a good champion right now. You just stand behind your minions, don't get by cleavers, and you're pretty good to go. He's like, Mundo is just too bad of a champion. When Mundo's good, he's really difficult for Teemo to deal with. But right now, Mundo is just like too shitty. His stat check is not good enough that I think I can put him into easy pretty safely. You know, later in the game, once he gets his like Spirit Visage and his like Jack Show or the fuck Mundo's by, he can just like ulti and run you down and like W and auto attack you and kill you probably. But it should never really get to that point because Teemo is a good laner and Mundo is such a shitty laner. Echo won't play against Elise, Evelyn, Ezreal, Fiddle. Fiora I'm going to put into skill matchup, I think. I think the mind games around Fiora's W and Teemo's blind can really like shape the lane. Like if you get your blind off on Fiora, then it's pretty good for you. But if Fiora W's your blind, obviously it's bad for you. And if you get hit by the W, that's like exceptionally bad for you because the slow is really, really high, but the attack speed reduction is actually crazy high. Like when you get hit by Fiora's W as Teemo, it basically feels like you're stunned. And then with, you know, you can like buy Zhonya's later on in the game for ulti, and you can like position them against walls, and you can like kite around the shrooms, you can try to space your Q and like debate it out and stuff like that. I think it's a pretty involved matchup. I think it's a pretty fun one, but I don't think it's Teemo favored or Teemo should lose. I think skill matchup is a good place for that one. Don't play against those. GP. GP is really depends on the GP player. When I play against GPs who don't know what they're doing, it's obvious and the lane feels super, super good. But when I play against Gangplank players who do know what they're doing, like Solar Baka, it's like a completely different experience. I'm going to put Gangplank into hard just because he scales really, really well and his damage is actually pretty high and it's actually pretty long ranged. You know, Gangplank is like a melee character, or he's like a range character in disguise, right? He's supposed to be melee, but like the range on his barrels and his Qs and the speed at which he can get Essence Reaver from his first strike and the extra money that he gets from creeps and stuff like that, I think makes Gangplank a pretty hard matchup. Plus, you have to contest him on his barrels, or else you get zoned off of getting CS. And if you can test him on the barrels, and GP's good at it, you know, he's going to barrel combo you, and there's like 150 HP lost, and he gets some like first strike money and like stuff like that. So I think the matchup is pretty hard. Garen, you know, Garen's a weird one, because if you asked me a year ago, I would place Garen into free win. But now, Garen's actually pretty good, but his lane phase is shitty, which is the thing. I'm going to put him in a skill matchup, and the reason for this is because Garen's lane phase is really, really bad, and it's basically almost impossible for Teemo to lose the lane phase. But the thing with Garen is he scales really well, and eventually Garen's going to get to the point where if you don't have a massive lead on him, he's going to be able to just run at you, stride breaker you, spin on you, like ignite you, ulti, whatever like runes and summoners he takes, doesn't really matter too much. I see like phase rush with Ghost or phase rush with Ignite. Either way, Garen's going to outscale you and win. So it's up to you as the Teemo player to get enough of a lead or put Garen behind enough where that doesn't happen. Okay, so if you're playing Teemo in the matchup, you know, freeze the lane if you have to, get tower plates, you know, take the tower in jungle. You need to be getting your items way faster than he is. Because if you're even, you're going to lose later on. Gnar, I'm going to put Gnar into... I'll put him into easy. The reason why is Mega Gnar has kind of a favored little experience against Teemo. His gank setup's pretty good, and he actually outdamages you and has CC and everything. But when Gnar is small, it's just like so free. He's like low range, his damage is piss. He can itemize pretty well for you, like meaning Merc treads basically. But just give Mega Gnar the respect that he deserves by walking away when he's Mega Gnar. Don't let him like EU and ult you into a wall and stuff like that. And try to pressure him when he's Mini Gnar, and you should be pretty good to go. Gragas, I'm going to put into hard. Gragas is my least favorite champion in the game. Thank God they nerfed this guy. He was my ban for a while. I just hated playing against him. He's like better Malphite, in my opinion. His sustain was really good. Now it's just like whatever, I think. His range is pretty good. His gank setup is pretty crazy. If he gets a Q on you, he's going to slow you. Once he gets Everfrost, like... Gragas is just so boring to play against, man. You basically can't do anything against him, and you have to wait for him to try to do stuff against you. And when he does do stuff against you, it like can feel pretty shitty. Graves, I'll put him into easy, I guess. He was like kind of a top laner thing for a while. You just outrange him, you can blind his autos, which is like a lot of his damage. Just like don't stand up against the wall, and you won't get hit by both parts of his Q. He doesn't really have CC and gank set up. You should win this matchup for sure. Gwen, I'm going to put into easy also. The only thing Gwen really has going for her is her level 6 all-in is pretty strong. Anything else to say about that? No, just all you have to do is watch out for Gwen, level 6 all-in. Hecarim won't play against. Dinger. Dinger is actually kind of a pain in the ass. If you're playing against a Dinger top, you might want to just dodge, I think. I mean, best case scenario, you're just farming under your tower because Dinger puts turrets down and just shoves away over and over again. And worst case scenario, that happens, but you're also getting hit by like W's and you're getting ganked and dove. And like, you can't really interact with him too well. If you get hit by his E's, then he's going to follow it up with W's and then like the turret shots. You'll never get pushed in this lane. You may be able to like cheese out like a stealth kill on him or something like that. But overall, I think you should dodge the Dinger matchup if you care. It's also not fun. I'm going to put Alawi as the first free win champ, I think. I think Alawi is terrible. I think the champion is so bad. As long as you don't get grabbed, I don't think Alawi can do a single thing in the matchup. Her mobility sucks. Her damage sucks unless you get grabbed. Her like ulti you just walk out of unless you get grabbed. Even when she gets like her Frostfire, I feel like it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I've seen Alawi buy like crazy shit like Duskblade and things like that and try to do like the weirdest things to get ahead. I've seen them like rush Hull Breakers. I think just stand behind your minions, don't get grabbed. You know, her Q is so projected that like there's no way you can't dodge it. You shouldn't be losing this lane, I think. Irelia, I'm going to put into skill matchup, I think. I'm going to put it into easy, actually. Irelia used to be like a really difficult lane, I think, but that was when Irelia was pretty broken. But now I think Irelia is bad enough that Teemo kind of just hoses her with blind. You know, save Q for when she jumps on you, play her under passive stacks. It's hard for her to land her E. Even if she ults you, it's still pretty difficult for her to land her E. If she gets Bork before you get Naster's Tooth, you could lose, I guess. But I feel like you should never be losing, so that should never really be happening. So I'm going to put Irelia into easy. Ivern, Gnar. Nope. Nope. I think Jax is pretty difficult. Maybe Jax is just like a personal crutch of mine, but I feel like whenever I play against Jax, what he does is every time his E is up, he Qs onto you, uses E, stuns you, and then runs away. So like doing this, he goes down CS for sure, because he can't walk up to the wave when his E is down, but at the same time, it's like a lot of damage coming through. His E is like over 100 damage every single time he uses it, and he's like Q autoing you too, because it's like hard to get the blind off. Even if it's just QE and you do get the blind off in time, before the auto connects, you're still getting Q'd and E'd, and all you're doing is Qing him back, putting this like Doran shield regen and stuff like that. The only way I've figured out how to win the matchup is to get the wave crashed, have it bounce back, and then set up a freeze. Because once you set up a freeze, the only way Jax can break that is by auto-attacking it, and he's going to want to use E for it. And if you toss a shroom on the wave when he does that, you can usually slow him and then run him down, from my experience. So I do think there's counterplay to Jax, why I'm putting in hard and not dodge, but I think the matchup is pretty tough. A little side note there, some people swear by like airy Qmax in a Jax. I tried it, and I thought it felt pretty bad, personally. So, you know, the grasp, airy, fleet, PTA, whatever you want to try. I don't really think it changes the interaction too much, so I'm going to put him in hard. Jace, putting him in the hard too. His EQ into hammer form, into like QWE combo, is just too unfavorable for Teemo. Even if he misses his ranged EQ, just hammer form QWE is like, well, you're going to auto him and Q him and maybe get another auto off. And you're taking like the Q damages, auto damages, some of his W damages, E. He phase rushes, walk away, you're slowed from his E. There's like a weird like buffer, like stun thing on it. It's super unfavorable. The only good thing about Jace is he's really difficult to play. So if you play against a Jace who knows what they're doing, it's going to be a really tough time. But if you're playing against a noob Jace who doesn't know what they're doing, you know, the champion is so hard that you might be able to just like win from Jace being a complete noob. Look at all these 80 carries. Look at them. I'll put Kalista here. Karma Top. Some people will pick Karma Top. From my experience, Karma Top ends up just kind of being like a farm lane. I'm going to put in a skill matchup. Kind of just like pretty even. Stand behind your minions. Try to dodge your Qs. If she walks up to, what is it, W, EU? I don't even know which. I've never played Karma in my life. Whichever one like the chain is, you should be able to out DPS her. Yeah, I feel like Karma did recently get buffed. I think her AP ratios went up, so maybe Karma Top will get played more and more. But just thinking about my Karma games in the past, I felt like they were always kind of just, I'd put a shroom on the wave, kill it, and then just like leave and go whatever, do whatever, and then she would just like put up a shield and then like Q the creeps and then leave and do whatever too. So Karthus, I think Karthus is super broken. I think I'm gonna put him into dodge tier, honestly. If somebody whips out the Karthus top on you, I haven't played against it in a while, or let me think. I played against it once kind of recently, maybe it was a patch or two ago, and they took TP exhaust. And once you just like enter Karthus's like in circle of influence or whatever, if you get hit by the Qs, you're just gonna lose. Like, it's simple as that. If you get hit by his Qs, you're gonna lose. And so it's like it's not consistent. You can just like run and be like, oh, like I'm better than you. Like, I'm gonna dodge all your Qs. But then if he like exhausts you, puts up the wall and slows you and lands his Qs, you're just gonna die. And even if you do kill him, he's gonna kill the wave anyways because he's playing Karthus. And he's just gonna like ulti and get free kills across the map for that. I would strongly urge trying to avoid playing as Karthus top. Cassidy top, not really a thing. Katarina top, not really a thing. Kayle is pretty easy. You should definitely win the lane. She just scales really hard. So she can also buy Wit's End, pretty nice. Kayle's like to buy Wit's End, which is a pretty good item against Teemo. As long as you don't get behind, which you shouldn't, it should be like pretty straightforward for you. You should be able to dumpster Kayle, but somehow if something goes wrong, Kayle scales so well that you'll probably lose the game getting behind, but that should never happen. That's why I'm not going to put her in free win, just because of her scaling and the potential to lose. Kayn, not a top laner, I don't care what people say. Keddin's pretty difficult. His level 6 all-in and gank setup is really strong. You kind of have to beat him early. There's kind of two ways you can go about it. You can take PTA and try to cheese him, because your level 1 is so much better than his, or you can try to like actually lane and take, you used to like PTA, or you could like run fleet or something and try to contest him on his CS and just be like better than him at laning, I suppose. But yeah, once he gets his items and is like level 6, level 11 lane rate to ulti and stuff like that, he'll just like E on top of you, ult you, then he's gonna stun you from his ulti, then he's gonna land his Q, and then he'll have enough burst to deal with you. So you gotta buy Zhonya's to avoid that. And his team fighting is really good too. So I think Keddin's a pretty difficult matchup. Put these into there. Kled, I think is I'm gonna put him at easy. The champion is just really weird. Like, you just have to save your blind for his W basically, and make sure when you're dismounting him you have blind up so that he can't get his remount points with his auto attacks. And then it's pretty straightforward from there. It's pretty tough for him to actually EQ you, from my experience. And the champion kind of scales like shit too. So even if you like get soloed, I've been soloed by Kleds like twice in a row, and then was like still able to just, you know, they like EQ on me, they missed their Q, I blind at the right times, and I still win. So I think pretty favored for Teemo. LeBlanc top, should I put it in? I'll put it in skill matchup, I guess. It ends up kind of just being a farm lane, I think. You out DPS her, and she doesn't really want to like W onto you. She's just gonna be like static and auto wave and like leave, and you can do the same thing. You buy your own static if you want, or you could just collect the farm. So I don't think that matchup is too bad. It's got nerfed a lot too. I was like tempted to not even rate it because they don't really play LeBlanc top anymore, but Lee Sin top, that's not really a thing anymore. Nope, nobody plays Lilia top. No one plays Lissandra top. Lucian top is not a thing anymore. People used to play Lulu top, but I don't think that's really a thing. Nopers. Malphite, I'll put into skill matchup, I think. Malphite has a couple things going for him. His Q poke with Comet and Scorch can poke you out of lane. And also his level 6 gank setup is really, really good. I wouldn't say all in because I don't think he can just ult you 100 to 0 with his ulti. I think if he just like leads with ulti that you'll win. But I think the matchup is not that bad because even though he's Q spamming you, you'll always have control of the wave because he's just going to walk up and Q you, right? But then you just sit there next to the wave and he has to leave. So you get to decide what to do with the wave. So after he hits you with a couple Qs, you can just crash the wave before you get low enough for him to all in you, and then recall and then come back. So I found the matchup to not be like too crazy. This is a pretty good Riftmaker first matchup in my opinion too. You can take Fleet also, but I kind of like PTA Riftmaker first. Mal's top, no. Maokai's only a jungler now. Yi top, no. MF top, no. Mordekaiser, all you have to do is dodge his grab. That's basically it. I mean, if you like walk into a bush and Mordekaiser's there and he has ulti, like he's gonna bonk the shit out of you probably. But like you should never get to that point. Just go early boots, dodge his grab. It's super hard for him to land it, and you should be pretty good to go from there. I would not buy QSS, by the way. Just a little quick little aside. I would not buy QSS against Mordekaiser. I don't think you need it. Just dodge his grab. Dink, dink. Nasus is a bit weird. I'm going to overall put him into easy, I think. But it's a bit hard for me to definitively say, and here's the reason why. Nasus has two different playstyles. There's the buy some AP, like Doran's Ring tier into Everfrost or something in max E with Aerie, which is pretty annoying. If he does that, you're almost certainly going to lose the lane as Teemo, but the bright side of that is if he's doing that, he's not going to scale because he's not getting stacks, right? He's not maxing Q, he's maxing E, and he's trying to force you out of lane. And if he doesn't win lane doing that, it's like doubly bad for him. It's kind of like a gamble on his part, honestly. And then if he does Q max, the only thing you have to watch out for is his level 6 all-in with Ghost. And even if he does that, you can blind him and stand still and go invisible, even if you're taking damage from his ulti. So I think he goes E-max and he falls off late game, or he does Q-max and he's just going to lose the lane because he's playing Nasus and he's maxing Q and not E. So I'm going to put him into easy. Come all the way down here. Nautilus top is not super a thing, I think. People were like dabbling in it for a while, but they don't really do it anymore. Nico top, I always found Nico to be pretty difficult, but she's gotten a lot of nerfs, so I think it might not quite be dodge tier, but her Q range is pretty good, and her E lockup is really good, and her ulti is pretty consistent to land, so she can ult you, and then E you, and then Q you, and even if that doesn't kill you, like if she just does that, maybe that's like, I don't know, like 60-70% of your HP, and you probably didn't do like any damage to her in return. So like that's going to force you out of lane. So basically every single time she has ulti up, she can go for something like that. So I'm going to put her into hard. Plus it's going to be tough to... She outranges you, and her auto attack when her W is stacked is like... I don't know if hit scan is the right word, but it just like immediately hits you. So she can walk up, get you with that W, and while you're like in your auto attack wind up, use her W, and it'll fizzle your auto attack. So you can't really trade back into that very well. Nidalee top, not really a thing. Nocturne top, no. No. Olaf, I think A while ago, I'd be willing to put him into dodge tier, but I feel like he's kind of fallen out of favor. I don't really see Olaf top anymore. And when I do see him, I feel like the matchup is not that bad. He's kind of like a better Darius, I think, where his all-in against you is really strong, but as long as you're not positioned in a way to allow that to happen, he can't really do that much to you. But one thing that Olaf has on Darius, I think, is that Olaf is he can farm from range better with his Q. And if he does manage to land a Q at you, he can just kind of like turn it on. Like he can just like fish with Qs and be like, oh, I missed a Q, like whatever, like I'll just wait for my next one. Then he'd be like, oh, I missed a Q. And then eventually he lands one, he's like, go time. You know, I landed that Q, I got the slow, like pops the ulti, pops the ghost, picks up his axe, like lands another Q on you, and then you're kind of just fucked. So you need to control the wave well against Olaf, I think. Gonna put him into there. Orianna top, not a thing. Ornn, I'm gonna put in the skill matchup. I think Ornn actually has solo kill potential on you with Spellbook and level 6. His ulti actually does kind of like a lot of damage, and his gank setup is really good. But at the same time, if you dodge his Qs and don't get knocked up by his E, you're pretty good to go. He also scales really well too, so you kind of have to beat him early. Pantheon, I'm gonna also put in the skill matchup. Pantheon is like be prepared to tussle it out when you're playing against Pantheon early. Like Pantheon level 1, he wants to like poke you with spears over and over again, right? And he also wants to clip the wave with them so he can hit 2 first. So when you're landing against Pantheon, you need to be hitting the wave with your auto attacks, or you need to be hitting Pantheon with your auto attacks. Because you don't want to give Pantheon push because it's going to force you off, so you need to hit level 2 first. But Pantheon's Q is a low cooldown, and it also does quite a bit of damage to you, and it'll do damage to the wave if you're standing in it. So try to position accordingly so he's not queuing. I mean, like ideally, you want to dodge his Qs, right? But worst case scenario is he's queuing you and hitting minions to get the push. So try to position in a way where if he's queuing you, he's not hitting the creeps also, so you can get level 2 first, which means you can make him force off the wave, and you can get the slow push against him. Also, Seeker's Arm Guard, super good against Pantheon. Would highly recommend it. Poppy's a super easy lane. I mean, the champ is pretty good, but I'm tempted to put Poppy into free win. You can blind her passive. She can never really E you unless she like horrendously mispositioned. She's never really going to Q you either unless you walk up too close. Her gank setup is not really that good. It's just kind of hard to lose this one, I think. Yeah, I mean Poppy's really good right now, but I think just in terms of Teemo versus Poppy, I think it's really good for Teemo. So I'm gonna put it into free win. Pyke top, not really a thing. Kiana top, not really a thing. Quinn can be annoying for Teemo, I think, but as long as you don't get hit by her Qs, it's pretty easy because your Q is just so good against her. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her into easy. It is kind of annoying when she gets her static, that she can kind of just like static the wave and leave. But I mean, it is what it is. She's getting nerfed anyways. I can't believe they're nerfing Quinn, but apparently they're nerfing her. Let's go on to the next one. Rakan top, no. Rammus top, no. No. Renekton, I'm going to put into easy. The only thing you have to watch out for Renekton is his level 6 all-in is like crazy good now. I think it got buffed, but if you don't respect Renekton level 6, he'll get on top of you with his 6, and the thing that'll do most damage to you is his ulti. Like, it's pretty crazy. So you need to get his ulti out, level 6, and then disengage him. But once his ulti's down and doesn't have it, and before he has his ulti, it's basically impossible to lose for Teemo, I think. So put him into easy. You can blind his W also. If you just ease, save your blind for when he ease. And the moment he ease, there's some like mind games there, I guess. Like if you use it immediately, he could save his W. But even then, like if he does do that and he's not level 6, it's probably usually fine. Rengar top, I'm gonna put into skill matchup. You kind of just have to know how to play the lane. Like if he has access to the bushes, you kind of just gotta back off. But if you can get him pushed under his tower, where he's forced to last it under his tower, there's like actually nothing you can do. So just kind of give Rengar the respect that he deserves early, and I think you're pretty good to go. I don't think you need to go armor, and I don't think you need to go Oblivion Orb. You can maybe go Oblivion Orb if you want. if he's doing like, you know, the fleet and the Doran shield and then like the second wind and like all that jazz, you could maybe itemize an Oblivion Orb, but I think I would just rush Nashers against him, honestly. Just like stay away from the bushes. Riven is, I think, a skill matchup. I think the lane is pretty good for Teemos, and I feel like I beat almost all the Rivens that I play against, but there's a couple Rivens, like Viper, who's crazy good at Riven, and he plays the lane differently, and the way that he plays it is really scary. He plays it like really, really aggressively early, where sometimes like level 1, you'll just be full HP, the wave will show up, he'll be full HP, and he'll just flash on you with Nimbus Cloak. And he'll start longsword 3 pots, and like you kind of basically have to flash that also. But then once you do that, like he's going flash for flash with you, and he's done damage to the wave, and he still has Ignite up with his Nimbus Cloak, and he has more potions than you because longsword 3 pots. So this match can be a little tough. This is a matchup I'd recommend taking bone plating in secondary. I wouldn't go grasp, but I would take resolve tree secondary and go bone plating. Rumble is a difficult matchup. That champion's kind of broken right now. Good thing about the Rumble matchup is if you can get to Nashor's Tooth without losing that hard, you win the 1v1. But Rumble should definitely win the lane. He's got a spammable shield. He's got ease to just spam you. Like, you know, he's like resourceless, I guess. He's got like the heat thing going on, but it's not like he has mana to worry about. Yeah, like, it's just like if you get hit by an E, it could feel really bad. And even then, he can just press like QW and then run at you, and you can't really trade back into him. You kind of have to run away so you don't get hit by the Qs and wait for his W to expire. But then he just walks away. I would go for stealth cheeses on him with level 6, and I would just try to play for my Nashers. And once that happens, once I have my Nashers, I would try to actively look to fight him. The Rise matchup is pretty bad. Dodge tier? I mean, Rise is too shitty of a champ to put into Dodge tier, I think. But he kind of like provides the same problems that some of these other champions have, where, you know, he has like point and click CC. His damage is like really high in a burst, and then he gets like phase rush and his movement speed passive, and can walk away. He's always gonna push on you when he itemizes, you know, like Roa and Archangels and things like that. So he's gonna get naturally tanky against you. You can cheat out some kills on him early, but the champ, I would, if he was good now, I'd put him into dodge. But the champ is just kind of like shitty right now, so I'll put him into hard. But same kind of problems as like these upper champs. Samira top, not really a thing. Sejuani top has fallen out of favor a lot. I'll go ahead and put it into skill matchup because when she actually used to do damage, it was kind of fucked up. But now I think all you have to really worry about is her gank setup. But I feel like people don't really play Sejuani top anymore. Senna top, nah. Set is just don't get grabbed. Basically, just have good movement, don't get grabbed, harass him when he goes for creeps. That's basically it. Shaco top, sorry Pink Ward, but I'm gonna go ahead and put Shaco top in the won't play against tier. Shen top is a free win lane, I think. But maybe not the freest win of game. So here's how I think about Shen. I've always thought Shen was just abysmal laner. Like, the only reason you're picking Shen is so you can sit top, get wailed on, do nothing, and then wait to ulti and turn a team fight. That's how I think of Shen. People will tell me that Shen actually has good laning. I don't see it, and I haven't experienced it. Maybe it's because I'm just a Teemo player, but like, if Shen E's onto me, it's like impossible to land it, and if he does land it, you can buffer the Q on it so he connects, and then his autos are blinded, and then you can space him out from there because he can't slow you consistently. Like, and he's gonna ulti away from you. You're gonna be able to get tower plates. As long as you don't get taunted under the tower, I really don't see what Shen does to you. Plus, the champion just kind of sucks balls right now. Shyvana top, not rating it. That's not really a thing. Singed is a free win. If he actually lanes against you, you're going to dick him. And if he proxies you, whatever he's proxying you, don't try to lose farm to get him. Like, maybe your jungler can get him. Just get him if you can. But it's not that big of a deal. The reason why he proxies you is he can't lane against you. So, put him in there. Sion, I would be tempted to put into hard. But I'm going to put him into a skill matchup. Because I feel like It's not actually that bad for Teemo. Swifties are really good. You can usually bait out his E's and his Q's. And Scions, for some reason, love to just die. They like love doing it. I don't know. I don't know if it's like the Scion syndrome, Scion gameplay thing, but I swear Scion players just something about them wanting to die. I don't really get it. Sarah top, no. Skarner top, no. Silas top is like, no, I don't think it's rateable. People don't play it. Syndra top, no. Tom Kench, I don't really think it gets played. It used to get played when it was broken, but it doesn't get played anymore, I think. And even when it was broken, I thought it was like skill matchup at worst. So I'm gonna put Tom Kench into easy, I guess, just because he has some gank setup going on for him. But just stand on your minions, and if he doesn't Q you, he can't really do anything. Talia, put into won't play against. Talon don't play against. Tarek don't play against. Teemo, dodge. If you pick Teemo and they pick Teemo, I don't know how they done it. But you should be concerned. Thresh top, nah. Tristana's only a mid laner. Trundle top, I like occasionally see. I guess I'll just put him into easy. Blind is just like super good against him. His level 6 all on is like kind of crazy good. Like if he actually pillars you off and gets on top of you and ults you and you can't run away for some reason because you're like between the pillar and the walls, you're mispositioning bad, I guess he'll just like bonk the shit out of you. But that should never really happen. Trainemir is a weird one. You know, I'm making this before the Trainemir buffs come out. Apparently, Trainemir right now is auto attack range is 125. And they're buffing it to 175. They're giving him 50 more attack range. I don't know if that's like not actually going to matter or if that's like the craziest buff ever. I'm going to put Trainemir into easy. And there's a couple ways you can go about the Trainemir matchup. I think way number one, and this is the way I used to do it before they made Zhonya's more expensive, was Zhonya's rush against Trainemir. He ulties, you pop the Zhonya's and wait for your blind cooldown. It buys you some time. You get the blind back. His ulti fizzles, and he doesn't have enough damage to kill you. Now the way I like to deal with Trainemir is I like to go start Q. I go like QEW, right? And then I go 3 points into Q. So at level 5, I have 3 points into Q. And then if he spins on me and he tries to run me down with his ghost and his ulti, I blind him and I press S and I go invisible in his face. And wait out his ulti that way. You need the extra points in Q to counteract his tenacity to do that, which is why I do the 3 points into Q. And then I just max out E from there. Like a normal good Teemo kitten. So I think Trainemir doesn't really have that good of counterplay to that kind of stuff. I guess before when he went Gale Force, he could, if he was smart, Gale Force to get damage on you when you're trying to go invisible so you wouldn't get the invis off. But now he doesn't even buy Gale Force anymore, so I don't really know what he's supposed to do, to be honest. Twist Fate top, no. Udyr top, no. Urgot top, I've always found Urgot top to be... okay, so here's the deal with Urgot top. If you're not a pussy, the matchup is pretty difficult, I think. I'd be willing to put him to hard, because if you get flipped and he has Ignite, which they take sometimes, or even he doesn't have Ignite, if you somehow get flipped, like if he Q flips you, you're gonna lose. But if you're a pussy like me, you don't give a fuck about what you buy, and you just care about your LP, if you buy Warden's Mail against Urgot, there's no counterplay for him. So, you know, take that, like, however you will. You know, if you're willing to recall at 1,000 gold and buy a Warden's Mail so he can't play the game, you know, go ahead and do it. And then it's kind of like free win tier. But if you don't want to do that and you actually have to dodge his Qs and dodge his flips or else you die, then the match is pretty tough. So I'm going to put him into skill matchup. Let's go all the way back down here. Nope. Vayne top is a free win. If somebody, you know, if the enemy team picks like, I don't know, Kai'Sa Vayne or something, and you can pick Teemo into it, and you think it's Vayne top, dude, just lock in the Teemo, take your free win. Vayne has no counterplay to it. Saskio, like high elo Vayne top player, I don't play against him. And the reason why for that is because he dodges when he plays against Teemo. So, if you want to ruin the Vayne top player's day, go ahead and lock it in. Bygar top, no. Victor top, occasionally is busted out. I don't think he's quite as bad as some of these dodge tier champs because you can buy Swifties and you can get off of his W and you can kind of run him down in the long lane top. And you can kind of do that for a bit longer than you would against the other champs, but you do get outscaled and the matchup is kind of shitty. And if you get behind, he's just going to spam E's on you and it's going to feel really, really bad. So definitely tough matchup here. You're going to need Swifties for Victor. The Swifties tech. No. So Vlad is an interesting one. I'm going to put Vlad into hard because once Vlad hits his levels, and if he knows what he's doing and takes like Ghost, honestly, just like Ghost Ignite is what I would do if I was a Vlad top against Teemo. You're going to struggle. But if he takes like Flash, TP, maybe doesn't take the right rune, which was airy in the situation, maybe he takes like Phase Rush or something. There's been games where I've played against Vlad and I've cheesed them, and I've been like level 9 and they're like level 4. Like, they do not get to touch a wave type of vibe. Like, crazy. Crazy leads I've gone against Vlads. But at the same time, I've gone for that kind of cheesy stuff and had it not worked, because like, you know, Vlad plays it well or I mess it up or whatever, and the game is kind of just like, I'm getting dove off cooldown whenever Vlad has his ulti up. So I think if you try to play the lane against Vlad without cheesing, it's going to be a really, really tough time. You kind of need to cheese him with PTA and Ignite and get that lead, and you need to keep that lead like really hard if you want a chance. Volibear top, I don't see it. Warwick top, I honestly don't see it. There are no Warwick players on my server. I feel like Teemo would be good against Warwick, but I just don't play against it. I haven't played against Wukong top in forever. Zaya top, no. Yasuo top, I think is difficult. I think his passive shield and his wind wall make it really, really difficult for you. You can definitely win, but he just has too many consistent ways to get on top of you. And like I said, the passive shield like soaks some damage. He puts up the wind wall. You can't auto attack or blind him. You can't even put a shroom down if it like is near the wind wall. The wind wall just like sucks it in somehow. Gonna put him in a hard, and then Yone I'm gonna put into skill matchup. If this was a bit ago, I think I would have put him into easy. But now that his W is better and he's gotten like some buffs, I think he's gotten buffs besides that. The champ is really snowbally. So if you kind of just get like, if you walk into auto Q him and he lands W on you, that's like a losing trade for you. You kind of have to bait out his Ws if you want to have a chance. And like I said, he scales well, so you could lose. But at the same time, he might overextend with his E. You can dodge his Qs. You know, blind is pretty good against him. If he hits a shroom, you can kite him out. He's pretty gankable without his ulti and things like that. So I think I'm going to put him in a skill matchup and not easy, like I may have once been willing to do. Yorick, I am putting into free win. This is maybe my, like, how do I want to say this? I get asked about the Yorick matchup a lot more than I think I should. People will come in, how do you beat Yorick? Yorick is so broken, like there's no counterplay to Yorick. A few months ago they nerfed Yorick and I was appalled. I couldn't believe it. I feel like the champion is unplayably bad. Especially against Teemo. I don't see how the champion is supposed to operate. Like, his E is almost impossible to land against Teemo. And even if he does land it, he can't walk up to the wave and hit minions. Or else you dick him down. Like at level 6, like the AI on his maiden is just so garbo. You put a shroom down on the wave, it's going to hit the maiden. You can just ignore Yorick and kill the maiden. Like, as long as you don't just say like, you know what, I'm going to walk bot right now and let Yorick like ulti top and kill your entire top tower, I don't see how he plays the game. I don't want to like throw shade at people, but this is a matchup that has felt... This feels like Teemo's best matchup in the game to me. And I don't think I should get asked about it as much as I do. Like, you know, you buy attack speed for his little circle thing that he puts down. Also, it's like hard for him to even put you in the circle. You can gun down the maiden with your attack speed. You can kill ghouls if he manages to get them. You can blind his Q for when he tries to Q you or when he just tries to Q minions. He has no mobility in his kit. Like, he doesn't want to buy boots early. I don't see it. I don't see how this is a losable matchup. Yumi, not going to play against. Zac top, I'm going to play into easy. You just have to kind of dodge his E's. You can kite out his ulti. You can blind his Q. So if he Qs a minion and tries to auto you can blind that and it'll fizzle. Or if he Qs you and tries to auto attack a minion, same thing, you can blind it and it'll fizzle. So tough for Zach to play against Teemo. I think Zed top, not really a thing. Ziggs top no, Zillion top no, Zoe top no, Zyra top no. Action top, I think is Teemo favored. He just wins in like the very, very early levels. But after that, you're pretty good to go. So just don't like all in action level 1 or level 2 or something like that. Kind of just like take it slow, you know, like auto Q here and there. Don't let him like E onto you while your Q is down. And once you start hitting some levels, if you guys are even, you'll just like come out ahead because the interaction just favored for you. Vex, nope, 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 nope. Cassante. So I think there was a point in time where I'd maybe consider putting Cassante into hard, but now I'm leaning towards skill matchup or easy. I think I'm gonna put him into skill matchup just because I think his ulti is strong enough when he has it that, you know, if you like overextend and he Qs you and he like ults you to his side of the lane or over a wall or something, that you can lose that. But I think being able to blind its passive is really, really strong. I think that he doesn't really have that much mobility in his kit without his ulti, and you can cut him out. And without his ulti, he has like no chance of fighting against you. And you can just kind of have like, you have control in the lane, it feels like, from my experience. I think his Ignite is pretty good against him too. Ignite and Blind, he like ults you and you like drop the Blind and the Ignite, and a lot of his damage is gone. So I'm going to put him into there. That looks like everybody. I wish I could see the entire thing. There's a way to zoom out, I think. What is it, like Alt minus? FN minus? Not what I wanted to do. But here is the completed tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions you want to leave in the comments, I do read all the comments. So, you know, if you disagree with me or something, if you're like, Aatrox is fucking easy as fuck, like, what are you saying? You know, you can like drop a comment and then I can, we could have an argument in there. Or if you just have any like genuine questions, I'd love to answer them. Thank you for watching, everybody. Bye bye. I love you.